Now, what's in the future for Billie Starkz?
Ooh, I don't even know yet. You have to ask the dirt sheets; they might know.
Oh, very well played. They've got all the answers, don't they? Hey guys, welcome back to another interview here on Toned In Entertainment today. I am joined by somebody who has been very, very busy and has managed to squeeze in just a little bit of her free time to do the podcast here on Toned In Entertainment, and that is the Space Jesus, Billie Starkz. How are you doing, Billie?
I'm doing pretty good. Chaotic as normal.
You are super busy, and I guess we don't even have to set the record straight because Taz has done it enough to let us know that you are not related to Ricky Starks. He has made that point plenty of times.
Yes, I am not related to Ricky. We even talked about it. We're like, hey, where'd you get that name from?
Now, I do want to start with a quote here from that was on Twitter, and it's from one of my favorite people in the whole entire wrestling world, and that's KiLynn King, where she wrote something about you, where she says, I remember when I first met Billie, I could feel it. This is a special and talented AF human being. I've always told people it's not a matter of if, but who will scoop her up first. So excited to see her on bigger platforms getting all these eyes. She deserves it. Proud of you. Now, when KiLynn King writes something like that publicly, how does that make you feel?
It's definitely it's very wholesome. I did not expect it from her, if I'm going to be honest. We did have a really fun first match, and the interactions I've had with KiLynn since then have been amazing. She's just a sweetheart of a human being.
She really is. I've had her on the channel twice here. She's wrestles a lot down here in Miami where I'm at. So just an
Mhm.
awesome person, and I watched the match between you guys as well too, and it was very very well. And I definitely want to see a rematch in the future between Billie
It's
Starkz.
been too long since we've gotten to wrestle.
Okay, so somebody's going to make that happen, right?
Hmm.
Now, speaking of people writing about you, obviously, I mean, you're new into this, and dirt sheets are obviously going to write about you. And I saw one of the things that they wrote was about, like, oh, AEW wants Billie Starkz back, and you kind of wrote back like, well, they seem to know more than I do. Like, how do you like deal with like dirt sheets writing about you? Like, what do you think about that?
Um, I just laugh about it honestly because a lot of it is like not true, or I'm like, how do you know this? And I have no clue what's going on. So a lot of times I just joke about it. And I also think that they're just ill-informed sometimes. Like some of it's like, oh, this is great. This is information that I probably needed to know. Other times I'm like, there's no way this is real.
Now, what goes like one of the specialty moves that you throw out there is that tope suicida through the ropes. Like, I just imagine if I tried to do it, I would probably be one of those people that would stop in my tracks 27 times before I actually did it. But like when you go out there, you hit them like a dart. Like, what goes through your mind, or do you just let it all like clear your mind and just go for it?
So I really don't think about much, and the sad part is I used to do it super, super slow. Like I used to walk into it. And Mouse actually, my dad was yelling at me, and he was like, "You need a like bullet. I need a good dive." He was like, "None of this like slow walk out and then go." And I was like, "Okay, okay." So now I just sprint every single time to like make a point. And it's kind of just become a thing.
Okay, I guess maybe after so many reps, I guess it just becomes commonplace then.
Yeah. I feel like once you do something for so long that it's just normal. I feel like when I wrestle, sometimes my mind just goes blank. It's not like I'm not there, but it's like I don't have to think at all. I'm just acting in the moment.
Okay, so I think that's probably the best thing if you're not thinking about it and you're in the zone. Because when I do watch your matches, like you can tell some people that are really thinking about it, and you're watching them, you're like, oh, like she's hesitating, she's whatever, whatever. But like when I'm watching your matches, especially all the recent stuff, it's like it is like so like smooth and like in the zone. Like, how would you say your confidence has grown over the few years that you've been doing this?
If I'm going to be honest, I feel like my confidence has like like went down. I feel like the more I learn about wrestling, the less confidence I have because I'm like, I got more to learn. I got more to learn and like more to perfect. Even though like wrestling isn't something you can perfect, I want to like perfect what I can and can do. So I'm like, oh, I need to work on this. Oh, I need to work on this. And also meeting so many people at like a higher level, I'm like, okay, I have so much more to live up to. And it can be like stressful at times, but I'm learning to deal with it.
Yeah, like how do you deal with the stress on a regular basis?
Honestly, just like talking to my friends. That's been like the biggest outlet for me. And like having my significant other for me to rant to. This man has been through a lot. How many hour-long phone calls of me just ranting? I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. He was like, no, it's okay.
Now, are you still in
I
high
was like,
school
half of
now?
this probably did.
Okay.
I am.
Because I did see on Twitter, like, you did mention like you were taking no more podcasts, that you had to finish up, your projects and stuff like that. I thought you
I
were
just
out
finished
by
my
now.
last two like big finals. So I was like, whew, don't have to worry about these. And now I just have like two big tests at the end of the year, but I still got a couple weeks for that.
Okay. Wow. Like I'm just trying to go back to many, 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 many years when I was in a senior in high school, and I was watching wrestling, obviously. Like I was watching Sting in the NWO, okay, when I was in high school. And you are like out there
Hey, it's a
like,
good
yeah,
that's
you're
a
up.
good thing to grow up on
No,
though.
it like I wouldn't change it for anything. The 90s was definitely like the a really awesome time. We're getting back to the 90s in wrestling, I think, right now. But
I feel like
like
this is definitely a high point in wrestling again. I feel like wrestling's gotten crazy.
now, I like to use this quote a lot of times when I interviewed Marina Tucker not too long ago, and one of the things that she said that she wished that wrestling would get cool again, like it was in the 90s. Do you think wrestling is on that pathway? Like when people would just wear NWO shirts and Stone Cold shirts to the mall, like that
Yeah.
was part of everybody's wardrobe. Do you think it'll get that way again?
I feel like it's slowly getting there again. Like the more and more people I introduce to wrestling, I feel like are like, oh, this is so amazing. This is so cool. And it's shocking. I found like a very large like female audience at my school that loves wrestling. Um, and they've been really entertained by it. I keep trying to get them to all come to shows, and they've all been like, "Oh yes," or "Oh, I have the football game this weekend. I'll come to the next one."
So they're making excuses, and that's not cool.
Hey, we're getting there.
We're getting there. It's really like pulling teeth sometimes, like to get people to come to, especially a local show, because everybody will go see the WWE or AEW when they come to town.
Yeah.
But to get like that casual wrestling fan to come to a local show, I just don't understand why. I feel like it's a better experience than what I see on TV most of the time.
I agree, but I feel like also that casual promotions are not like doing enough. What are they truly doing to like connect with these audiences? Are they putting up posters or flyers around the area of where their show is going to be ran? Are they going to schools, gas stations, anywhere that people are going to stop at and just have a conversation with people? Because not everybody's going to stop and look at this poster that you hung up. If you have like word to word conversations with people, they're most likely more likely to come than you making a social media post and the people who follow you see that post, but who else is going to see that?
That's true. The personal invite, I think, means more than just the post that people
Mhm.
don't even see in the algorithms half the time anymore on Facebook and stuff like that. Now, speaking of posters, you said posters, like, you're on a bunch of posters obviously now, but I've seen posters with like 20 people on the poster, but yet you're like the predominant person on these posters. Like, how does that make you feel?
Uh, it makes me feel good, but I feel like it's more likely because I have a dad who's a photographer, so I have very nice like photos, and I also have a lot of photos to choose out of. And I feel like I usually get bigger on the poster because they were like, "Oh, this one will look cool," and we'll pick out of like the hundreds that I have.
So you think it's just because of the photography, not because of the star power then?
I don't think so, but
No.
that's
Oh,
maybe me doubting myself a little bit. But I feel like in my head, I'm like, nah, they just found a good picture.
I think you're being very humble right now. Because you do bring a lot of star power. You are already bringing a lot of buzz around just the wrestling community and whatnot, and you're doing great things. And speaking of one of the women that's doing a lot of great things, I've seen that you've had some I mean, my most viewed interview here on the channel is Skye Blue. And you've had some interactions with her, both in the ring and outside of the ring. I see that even when you guys went to AEW, was she like, I guess she was like an important person in like getting you ready for that big time thing?
So Sky is one of my really close friends, like in and out of wrestling. And I love her dearly. She actually was like who I stayed with in the hotel and stuff. So I was like, hey, what do we have to get up tomorrow? When is the shuttle coming? And we joke that she's like one of my road moms now because she had to take care of me. And every time I've gone down there, I always get stuck in her hotel room. So I'm like, what do we want to eat tonight?
So she's been a good, well, I mean, she's only been doing this for a short period of time as well, too. So it seems like
Yeah,
she's
not
already
much
been
longer than I have.
right. It's like, I feel I mean, this is why I started the channel to begin with, because I was seeing all these up and coming stars that weren't getting the notoriety, but people that I saw like rise into the top. And the first time I saw Skye Blue wrestle, I was like, this girl's gonna be a superstar. First time I saw you wrestle, I'm like, this girl's gonna be a superstar. I've watched wrestling for over 40 years, okay? And like I just love the new generation of like the talent that's coming up, like yourself, is just so incredible right now.
I completely agree. I feel like the next generation of wrestlers are a whole different breed of insane. Me and Nick Wayne were talking about it. I think he's crazy. There's Broken Finley. There's Starboy Charlie. All of them are truly going to be like the next people coming up in the next couple of years.
Now, the first time, or there's probably been several times that you've had the Crimson Mask. Uh,
I've actually only had it
oh,
once.
it's only been one time. Okay, I saw different pictures, so I
Only
wasn't
once.
sure if it was more than one time. So you've only had the Crimson Mask. Like, what went through family and friends' minds when they saw that?
Um, My mom was definitely very freaked out. My dad was more just he just put his hands up and he was like, "It is what it is. Let's go fix her up." Um, my mom was definitely stressed and freaking out. I finished the match. It was actually an accident. It was not on purpose. And I got all cleaned up somewhat and then went to the ER in my wrestling gear because my mom was rushing me that quickly to go get my head stitched up, and it ended up being like 7 centimeters in my hairline, like this somewhere up here. I have a huge scar. Can't see it because I'm on my hair.
So when people see that at like your high school, I can't assume that anybody would ever mess with you in school.
So I only had like one situation where anybody tried to like mess with me in school. And it was like my freshman year of high school. I'm a senior now, so it was like a couple years ago. And the funny part is like now me and that kid are friends. And it's really funny how like it ended up happening. But freshman year we had like our last period class together and we really didn't talk. Like we had friends of friends who knew each other, and he was talking to me and he was like, "You're a fake wrestler, you do this, blah 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 blah." I was like, "Whatever, dude, I don't care." and it was right before the bell rang. So I have my backpack, I'm ready to go, and my hair was pulled up in a ponytail. And I remember him grabbing the back of my ponytail and pulling it. And I was like, absolutely not. Because he was still just trash talking, trash talking. And then he pulled my hair, and I was like, okay, this is it. And I ended up grabbing him and slamming his face in the desk. And then the bell rang, and I walked out. And the very next day, I was like, oh, I'm about to be in trouble with this teacher. It's my last period. At least I don't have to see her until the end of the day. But I was stressing the whole day. I was like, I'm going to go down there and she's going to yell at me. But I ended up going to her class, and she was like, it was after the bell rang. I didn't see anything. She was like, but if there's any more problems, come talk to me and let's not result to violence. So I was like, okay. And then later on, me and that kid became friends. So it's funny to talk about now.
Yeah, they became friends with you. They learned their lesson. Like, I never understand why, obviously most people know what's going on in the wrestling world and what professional wrestling is, but like, I see you guys and girls, and you would be the last people I would mess with, because like the last thing I would want is a German suplex from you. Now, speaking of,
It's so funny that like freshman year of like high school, I felt like either everybody was terrified of me or everybody was like, nah, that's a joke. And there was no in between. And I was like, well, I need you all to figure out how this is gonna be. I can't keep playing the back and forth.
now my favorite wrestlers of all time are Sting and the Road Warriors, and I think as a kid I gravitated them because of the face paint, and you've been known to rock the face paint from time to time. Is that something that you still do on a regular basis, or is it just for certain situations? Like, what's going on with the why you do the face paint sometimes?
So I honestly do it based on like themes of shows or if I'm just in the mood to do something. Um, so like I did a Halloween show, so I did like half of my face as a skull.
Which was
And
very
then
cool.
for one of my thank you. And then for one of like my bigger shows for my school, I did like a star over my eye. And I love doing stuff like that, but I wouldn't do it all the time because I don't want to get like stuck in a box with that, but I also want to make it important. Like every once in a while when I do this, I want it to be cool and people respond to it and not just think, oh, there's the chick with face paint again.
Okay.
Um, but it definitely lets me get all of my creativity out. I'm a very like artsy person. These are all like paintings I did. My room's covered in art. So I love doing anything that I can with like makeup and paint just to have fun.
I like that, because when you do see the face paint, you like it doesn't get played out, and it kind of sets the tone for maybe a particular match being special or important or whatnot. So I like that. I like
Mhm.
that's what you're going with the face paint then. Now,
Thank you so much.
oh, you're definitely welcome. Now, let's talk about Japan. Okay, a place I've always wanted to visit. You've already wrestled over there, and I see that you're getting ready to go back there again as well.
I am. I'm very, very excited. And a lot of the TJPW girls are going to be here in the States very soon for Mania weekend, which I'm extremely excited about because they put on a phenomenal show. And I'm really happy for a lot of the people here in the US to see some phenomenal women's wrestlers.
What's your plans for Mania weekend right now?
I got a lot coming up, but I can't talk about a lot of it until it is announced. But no, Mania weekend, I will definitely be around, and I'm going to try to be one of the workhorses of the weekend.
Okay, okay, I got you. I know it's still a little too early. Everything comes out like 3 weeks in advance or so. We're still in
Yeah,
in the middle of February. It's a little too early. I was trying to get
no
a
spoilers
no
yet.
spoiler alerts, no spoiler alerts. Okay. Now, what's the difference between wrestling in the States and wrestling in Japan? Like, as far as the crowd goes, the atmosphere.
Um, there's definitely a different style over there. And I loved it. It's what I've always inspired to be like as a wrestler. Definitely the Joshi women have been a very big like part of my wrestling style. I love how they dress. I love their cardio. I love the pacing of their matches. I love their looks in general. And when I went over to Japan, I just fell in love more. The crowds there are so extremely respectful, and the atmosphere, I felt so safe and like taken care of the entire time. I was very worried. I went when I was 17 and I was completely by myself. This was my first time out of the country. Um, so I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. But it was a lot of fun and I actually did enjoy it. I got to see so many crazy, amazing things. I got to go to Disneyland in Japan before I went to the one here.
Okay. Like what went through your mind? Like, I mean, like when you step off the plane and you realize you're in Japan and what you're going to go do, like, does it hit you? Is it surreal? Like what were you feeling?
So none of it really hit me until like my as soon as I walked off the plane and got out of the airport and I got on the train and I was like, oh, we're here. And I started looking around and I was like, I'm in a completely different world. And then I went and had my first bowl of ramen as soon as I got like off the train. I was started heading towards my hotel, and me and Shoko stopped and got ramen on the way, and I was just like in love. I was like, this ramen is like my favorite food, and then I got to have real authentic ramen. I was like, this is love. This is where I'm meant to be.
Wow, it's kind of crazy because I actually had, I'm not even lying to you, I had ramen for dinner tonight too, which is crazy. Like, oh goodness. So let's talk about a little bit of the AEW Dark matches, okay? Like you've had three matches, I believe, on AEW Dark with Yuka Sakazaki, Red Velvet, and Dr. Britt Baker. I think my favorite match though were the one where you really got to show off like what you could really do was with Britt Baker. So how was that match with her?
I had a phenomenal time. That was actually the week after I turned 18. I went down to the Orlando tapings. And that was my first time like really working with AEW, and being backstage and getting to meet those talents. And Britt was phenomenal to work with. I think she was super, super easy. And I loved the match that we got to put together. And I feel like it was a great showcase for me. And then I also still made her look amazing as the Britt Baker that she is, the DMD.
Um, Now you've taken some pretty punishing moves outside the in while you've been wrestling. I saw a razor's edge into like a cage. I've seen you've not just take a tombstone pile driver, but like a 360 tombstone pile driver as well. Like when those situations are occurring and you know that's going to happen, like is that something that just says I don't know what goes through your mind when you're about to get razor's edge into a chain fence or 360 pile driver?
Um, it's like this thing. My mind just goes blank, and it's just like everything will be fine. I'm just going to trust the process until it's not. And it's kind of like chaotic sometimes because I'm definitely one of those people. Uh, if in my head I believe it can happen a certain way and like safely, I'm like, oh, I can do that. Everybody else will look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, no, I can do that. There was like a whole situation over the swanton bump that I took from like the very top rope to the floor in a gymnasium, and everybody was like, that is crazy. In my head, I had been planning that, and I was like, nah, it'd be fine. It'd be fine. And it was. I was fine the next day.
No, you have a very beautiful swanton bomb. So when you hit it, it looks
Thank you.
fantastic, but you've also missed it. Like, what is the difference between missing a swanton bomb in the ring versus like on the apron or outside the ring? Like, what are the different feelings?
So I say they definitely all have like different like levels. In the ring, I think is worse than the aprons sometimes, because I'll be like a rock on a river and I'll skip. You'll see my body like bounce off the mat and then I'll take another one. At least on like the swanton bump on the apron, I only hit once and then I am back to like not having to be on my back. And the floor, I feel like the floor is probably the most impactful. Um, but I still feel comfortable enough to do it.
Okay. Well, you are 1,000 times more braver than I will ever be in my life. Now, you're obviously very busy. Like, do you ever deal with like a lack of sleep while you're between your training, your wrestling, your school?
I always am like surviving on a few hours of sleep. I'm starting to be better about it and taking like days of rest to try to like recover. Because there has been times where I'm like 6 hours every night is good enough. And it's definitely not. It's not healthy. I need to be able to rest and recover. Because wrestling is physically and mentally draining. And not giving your time to your body and your mind um, can be a lot. And I want to wrestle for a long time, so might as well take care of my body now so I can continue doing it.
100%. What is the secret to keeping up the energy level?
A lot of just lying to myself. I just lie and say I have energy, and then I'll go crash somewhere because in my head I can sleep anywhere. I just need my blanket, and I've slept on airport floors. I've slept in cars. I can sleep in a corner, just snuggled, passed out anywhere.
What would you say is maybe like the biggest lesson you've learned so far?
Um, I think the best advice that I've gotten from wrestling is to just be a nice person. As cheesy as that sounds, I feel like it gets you so much further in wrestling and just life in general. Being a nice person, people want to help you and also see you succeed. And the more people you have helping you, the more likely you are to succeed.
I mean, that's just a general thing in life more than just wrestling. Is just be nice to people, right? There's enough.
I feel like it's hard for people to hear that sometimes, though.
Mm, it is. It is. Now, during one of the matches I was watching, they all started chanting like "F them up, Billy, F them up." Like, do you ever hear like those kind of chants? And if you do, what goes through your mind when you hear stuff like that?
I always laugh because it gets me excited. I'm like, okay, we're fired up. Let's go. So I definitely get more like energy from it and more excited about the matchups. Especially when it's like right off the bat. I feel like there's sometimes where the bell rings and they're immediately on like, oh, she's about to mess this man up. It's about to go down. And I get really excited because I'm like, oh, they think it's something's about to happen. Let's give them a show.
Like, well, I mean, you do get in the zone because you let out like quite the scream sometimes whenever like you like hit that big move. It's just like that, like like that loud, intense scream, like whenever you go through it. And that's one
Definitely
of
strained my vocal cords a few times.
have you? Okay.
I came home and like my voice sounded terrible, and it was over like a 3 day weekend, and I kept screaming and doing stuff the whole weekend. I came home and it was just shot. But I was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Ah."
Like, how bad does Billie Starkz want this?
More than anything.
Like when you first started wrestling, because you did start wrestling at 13, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Like, were your parents always on board with this?
Yeah, so my parents have always been super supportive of anything I've wanted to do. Um, I've always said I wanted to be a wrestler since I was little, and I am a very stubborn-minded person, and that's never changed. Um, but I went to my first training session with my mom before I signed up to start like full-time training, and she saw how invested I was. My dad showed up and saw me like rolling around in the ring, and he was like, "She's too happy. You're not getting her out of there." So they signed the contract that day. I continued training, and I've loved it ever since. My dad has been in 12-hour car drives with me. My mom helps me with a lot of like the merchandise stuff and going through like Patreon orders. Let's go through all the social media messages. She was like, let's clear stuff out, catch back up on stuff when I'm busy with wrestling
Oh,
and
wow.
just school and life in general.
Wow, that's fantastic that both your parents are on board. I don't think there's anything more important than not only having your parents support in your journey, but them being like your teammates in this whole thing as well.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's now like I'm about to move out and be on my own, and they definitely helped me so much. But I feel like I'm gonna miss part of it.
Okay. Now you talked about your Patreon. Like, what are some of the things that people can find on your, or what are some of the perks, I guess you could say, of becoming a Patreon?
So I did exclusive 8x10s that are only on my Patreon. They'll be shipped out later this year. I was going to do presents too. I'm doing custom gifts for my higher level Patreon subscribers. I will send them a birthday present, gift near the end of the year, just to say thank you for being subscribed. And then I'm also doing like cameos, like happy birthday videos. Um, like if you just want me to say something random, or say hello to somebody, I'm doing that too. And if you just want to buy me a cup of coffee, my lowest level like Patreon tier is $3 if you just want to help me out and get me more energy throughout my day.
That's a fantastic thing. Like for $3 a day, you can keep Billie Starkz energized throughout her wrestling
You want
journey.
me to come put on bangers for you, buy my coffee and I'll be ready.
I absolutely love that. Now, earlier today on Instagram, we were talking about like the trading cards as well too. And but those are
Yes,
all
I actually
gone
have
now,
a
right?
couple.
Can we show them?
So this was my last blue trading card. This is one of my exclusive GCW ones. And it's still with Billy with blue hair. It doesn't have all of my white hair in it. It was amazing. I did this for spring break, and that's where me and Starboy Charlie got to wrestle. It was a really fun match. I was super happy about it. And I actually got a few more. I got another GCW one. This was from my first collective, and it was super cool. And then the bloody card that I got earlier. This is my bloody face. This is the first time I ever bled in a wrestling ring. And then my one that I did with PW Junkie. They've been doing amazing work. I did a brand new card with them. I did my Bully Starks card that I haven't got yet, but I'm going to be selling those very soon.
Very
Ooh.
cool. Like I grew up, I mean, I still have boxes and boxes of trading cards, and I have autographs and everything else, and I think it's so cool. Like anytime any of the wrestlers I go to shows have a trading card, I always buy the trading card, and I am purchasing one from you, like I promised I would, so I can add it to my growing collection of trading cards. So I'm super stoked for that.
I feel like I'm so bad about collecting 8x10s and posters that like my whole house is covered in them, and my mom has migrated them all to like one room now. We have like the wrestling man cave, and then the garage outside, which is the BSB Performance Center, is just covered with posters and stuff.
See, that's why I like the trading cards because you can fit so many of them, and you can just have like they take up
Don't
less
take up
room.
as much space.
Right. Then the action figures are the 8x10, just like, oh, here's my little binder of all my
Well,
my
everybody has an 8x10. Not everybody has a trading card.
damn straight. I absolutely agree. That's why I think the trading card is
People
actually
need to be
cooler.
better.
Yes, yes. I think the trading card says, look at me. This is I like I've made it. I'm on a trading card right now. Because you can actually get them made of
It's definitely a
yourselves
unique
now, but
item.
but I like when companies make one of you guys and gals.
Yeah.
Now,
It's definitely been very interesting how much merchandise people have reached out to me about like getting made, like the slam buddies, the cards and stuff like that. I feel like wrestling fans and like people are just so creative when it comes to like wrestling merchandise.
and that's the thing about fans. Like fans will buy wrestling merchandise, like football players, baseball players. Yeah, there's like maybe they get their Funko Pop or whatever, but if they're a fan of you, like a wrestler, they will buy your action figure, 8x10, your trading card, your Funko
They're getting
Pop,
all of it.
all of it. The T-shirts, they will buy 5 different T-shirts if you have all 5 T-shirts.
That's how I was when I was a fan. I literally had all of Bailey's merchandise, had the hugger t-shirt. I made my own like wristband things. I had my headbands, I had all of them. It was crazy.
So was like Bailey like your influence then?
Definitely when I first got introduced to wrestling, a lot of Bailey was influenced on me, and I love Finn Balor and their time that they spent in NXT. That's a lot of like what I connected with, and then I started going to independent shows. I say more. I like idolize like Millie McKenzie from the UK. I think she's a phenomenal wrestler, and that's who I strive to try to be like.
Okay. Now we mentioned your cameos earlier. Have you ever gotten any like weird requests for cameos that you just couldn't do?
I am not yet, and hopefully that doesn't change. Uh, but I also have my mom like filtering through stuff. So a lot of the times, if there's like weird things, she'll deal with it and be like, "No, we're not doing this," or she'll just delete the message and say, "I'm not dealing with
I
that."
like that. So people don't be weird because Billy's mom is going to see it. She's going to delete it and it's not going
Yeah,
to go
if you're sending
nowhere.
me crap, be prepared.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah. So people stop being weird out there. Don't be weird.
I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, you don't want to deal with this. You got the mom that just cuts it off right there. I like it. I like it. Now, some of the art that you have up there, you said that you do it yourself. Have you ever thought about doing
Yeah,
it? And it's really cool. Have you ever thought about doing like
thanks.
custom artwork for people? Or is it just like
I
your
actually
stress
did at
reliever?
one point. I talked about like selling a few of my paintings that I have because I have like filled up my wall space now, but I still want to like paint and do stuff. So I talked about doing more paintings and selling them on my website. But I haven't committed to the idea. I think it's more just time that I don't have right now. I haven't really sat down and painted in a minute because my schedule has been so crazy. Um, but that might be something that I do in the future.
Okay, okay. Now, what's in the future for Billie Starkz?
Ooh, I don't even know yet. You have to ask the dirt sheets; they might know.
Oh, very well played. They've got all the answers, don't they? Somebody asked me before, like I've actually been offered to like write for websites and stuff like that, and I was like, I have no interest in it because I don't want to like, you know, make up stuff or
Stir the
like
pot.
yeah, stir the pot. Like I want to get the information from the people themselves. It's like I'm going to stick as an interviewer because I really do enjoy getting it from the source itself versus an anonymous source that says Billie Starkz is going to be doing X, Y, and Z.
We'll see what I'll end up doing.
Yeah.
But I feel like the future is very unpredictable for me right now. I truly don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm just gonna have fun wrestling and enjoy it.
Oh, well, you're doing a great job, and I don't want to take up too much of your time because I want you to get your sleep. I want you to get your all your stuff going, and I do appreciate you making a little bit of time. I know you're booked for months now with doing stuff, so honestly, I'm wishing you nothing but the best. I know you're going to do great things, and hopefully, you'll make it down to a show here in Florida, and we could do. I'm still the live like I love the live interviews, the in person
There's
interviews.
so
So
much more fun because I feel like you get a better connection than through a screen.
right, you do 100%. But it's like you're so busy, I'm so busy. we're in two different states, so this is the way we are making it happen for now. When you come down to Florida, we definitely got to make a live interview happen at a show, right? Okay, cool. Billie, if people aren't following you already, where can they look you up at?
All of my social media is at Billie Starkz, Billie, and then Starkz is Starkz.
All right, perfect. Is there anything that we missed that I didn't ask?
I don't believe so. If you want to check out some merchandise, it's at bigstarksbrand.com.
There we go.
Gotta plug the merch.
Always, please support the wrestlers that you love to watch, and they're putting their bodies on the lines, and so they can make it to the bigger and better things in the future. Well, Billie, thank you so much. I really did enjoy our conversation this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, definitely. So, guys, if you like interviews like this with the Space Jesus, Billie Starkz, where does Space Jesus come from? I didn't even ask you that.
Oh, so that's kind of a story of so Space Jesus is a joke that originated from this crazy man who showed up to a Jimmy Jacobs seminar. He showed up like wrist already taped with leather gloves on, this leather vest, a t-shirt, and when Jimmy Jacobs goes around and he's like, "Oh, what's your gimmick?" This guy goes, "Oh, I'm a street fighter," and he was like, "That's cool, but like, do you have something more?" He was like, no, I'm a street fighter," and he was like, "But what makes you special, dude?" And he just takes off his shirt. He was like, this will explain it all. Takes off his shirt, takes off the vest, and what is revealed is alien Jesus walking across water, tattooed on this man's chest. And I don't know how that explained he was a street fighter, but Jimmy Jacobs just nodded his head and kept going through like the rest of his seminar. But that guy, it was like crazy, and he did a bunch of other stuff. But the joke of Space Jesus came from that tattoo and that crazy man.
I love how random stuff just happens, and then you just you
I kind of
continue
morphed
on.
it into my own thing.
Perfect. You did. And I didn't ask you about the bunny rabbit hat as well. See, I knew I forgot something as well.
So the bunny hat is actually from my trainer. My trainer used to wear it when he came out to wrestle, and he retired. So I ended up picking it up from his apartment, and then I started wearing it more and more and more.
Okay. Very cool. Well, well, Billie, thank you so much for joining me here on Toned In Entertainment this evening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely. So, guys, I already said it once, but we're going to finish it this time. If you like interviews like this with Billie Starkz, make sure you hit that red subscribe button so you can stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos. Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.